Transport as a service is the new business model that we see Tesla pursuing. It's a business to business model. In other words, we see Tesla selling services to municipalities, cities, maybe even countries. For example, Dubai has a huge traffic problem. It's a fast growing city. It's a city that is also willing to experiment with new concepts. And it's definitely a city that is technophile. In other words, they love technology. So Tesla will come, offer a solution to the city. For example, this could look something like we will launch 10,000 robo taxis at once. We will have an internet style network that makes sure that there is very smooth traffic, that there's no waiting, there's no traffic jams, there is most likely a very, very small likelihood of accidents, and you don't have parking issues. Tesla will offer, of course, the robo-taxi, the hardware, the software, managing the network, the app, and charging infrastructure, maintenance. Now, whether they do it themselves or whether they actually franchise that service to somebody local, that is beyond this episode. And I think that's worth actually a whole other episode. From Tesla to Mars guys, the Dutch guys, they talk about this a lot, about shepherds and things like that. Shout out to that podcast. And again, that's an interesting subject, but I don't want to talk about this here. So the point here is that as we are moving along the innovation curve and the technology curve, we are changing the business model. So this is very similar to AWS moving from on-premise to cloud computing. This is the App Store that is opening up a whole new ecosystem. This is Kubernetes changing the way software is developed. This is maybe YouTube also changing the way entertainment is developed and delivered to consumers. So with new technology, we always have these types of effects on businesses and business models. Now, the point that we want to make here is twofold. One is, of course, this is a massive opportunity for Tesla and for us Tesla shareholders. But most importantly, also, it's a huge opportunity for people, for cities, for countries to change one of the biggest problems that exists right now in almost any large municipality, and that is traffic. And that is, I guess, the great thing about this business and the purpose of this podcast is to give people a sense for what it feels like to run a hedge fund. So sometimes you might ask yourself, well, what's the purpose of all this? Like, so what? You invest in a company, they make money, there's self-driving cars. I hear that a lot. Of course, Tesla haters would say, here in Europe, I'm in Europe right now, and there's people that either dislike Tesla or dislike Musk, and they would say something like, why do we need self-driving cars? What's the point? I can drive my own car, things like that. Well, of course you can drive your own car the same way you can ride your own horse. You can ride your own bicycles. There's all these, I can do this and what if that and all that. But the point I think I want to make here is that this is an enormous value creation for society. And that's key, because we don't just want to make money. I think making money in the markets is akin to delivering value to society. You cannot deliver value to society you cannot make money in the markets unless the companies that you're invested in can deliver this kind of value to society. That is, again, a statement maybe that warrants its own podcast episode. Is that really true? There's companies out there, they keep making money. I don't know, banks, insurance companies, you have Coca-Cola, whatever. I mean, are they really adding value to society? I would argue, yes, they do, and it's very difficult to continuously, over a long period of time, generate wealth as a company without adding value to society. But back to Tesla, I think what's key about Tesla is really that this is a new tech. It's real-world AI, so it offers a lot of new opportunities for society to take advantage of that tech. And one of the biggest opportunities, of course, is that we are ridding ourselves of driving. So that means that humans don't have to navigate vehicles while in transport. So let me dissect this a little bit. First, what do I mean with transport? So the word TaaS, transport as a service, it entails two big words. One is transport, the other is service. So let's dissect them. Let's think about what does that mean. What is transport? Well, I just want to keep it simple. Transport is you want to go from A to B. You have a necessity to change your location. So in space, you want to go from one place to the other. That seems to be something that humans want to do at scale and very frequently. Now, again, we could ask ourselves, why is that the case? Why aren't we static? I think it has to do with flexibility. It has to do with adaptation to the environment. We just can't predict upfront what's going to happen to our lives at the micro scale. So whether I want to go shopping here or there, or whether I'm hungry and I want to go grab a sandwich or things like that. And also at large scale, which is, look, I have a business trip scheduled. I need to go pick up my colleague. My wife comes home from a business trip. So there's constantly needs to travel. That's just a reality. And if we look back at the history of transportation, we went from horse to railway to steamship to airplane. Every time we had innovations in transportation increased. And most importantly, every time we had a lower price for transportation increased massively. For example, in flights, when Southwest Airlines came with lower priced fares in the US and in Europe, we had a few low-cost airlines. When they came to the scene, people just started flying a lot more. So we believe this is the same thing. We have lower cost vehicle service that will drive demand for transportation massively. Now, why that is the case, again, why is it actually that this is so price sensitive? It seems that transport is similar to communication. In fact, I guess at some point it's almost the same thing, transport and communication, because you can either choose to talk to somebody on the phone or you can choose to go somewhere physically and talk to the person. There's also, by the way, it seems to me that the desire for physical interaction between people, and I don't mean sexual or anything like that, I just mean in-person meetings, in-person coffee, having chit-chats, and that desire is greater than ever. We had a natural experiment with COVID where we thought that that's going to go away, and in fact, no, it's even more stronger than ever. So there's all these things that move humans towards more transport, and with lower cost of transport, which is what Tesla is providing, we believe that there will be a lot more transport. Now, in order to provide that, we need the service. So the other word of the TaaS, the transportation as a service concept, we need more service. And that means that we need concepts, we need solutions. We've seen that in many cities in the US. Los Angeles is the most famous one. We've seen it in cities in Europe and now in the Middle East, particularly Dubai. Whenever cities grow, when cities are successful, actually, delivering services to people so they want to come to the city and live in the city, one thing that happens is that there is traffic jams. And by the way, it's not just traffic jams. Real estate prices go through the roof because space is expensive, and actually traffic takes a lot of space. If you think about it, you sit in a car, usually one or two people sit in a car, that's taking a lot of space. The car moves around the city, so the road has to be built, parking lots have to be built. There is a lot of problems with transportation, and it's very expensive. So if we can rid ourselves of the real estate that is necessary for the conventional transportation, we can open up all new avenues. For example, we could have we could have dedicated roads and lanes for transport, and we could have a lot more pedestrian zones and retail zones, and also we can free up space that is now in inner cities for parking. Right? Why do we need? We absolutely don't need any inner city parking with a robotaxi network. All of these things can be done outside in places where currently there's no need for anything, meaning there's no, basically it's free money, it's low cost parking outside of a city because nobody's using that space right now. So we can completely flip the script here. We can flip the script of we have very expensive inner city parking real estate because people want to be in the inner city. They go to work, or they go for retail, or they do whatever. Particularly here in Europe, you want to be in the old town. You want to go around, café trottoir, and all of that. And it's very expensive to do that. Now, having said that, of course, we have to also think about competition here, particularly in Europe, where there is public transportation. Also in cities like Dubai again, or in China, or cities like that, they have obviously not been waiting for the robo-taxi network to launch. So they've been building, subways and things along those lines. Now we believe that those solutions are to some extent sunk costs, a little bit like the fixed telco network. When the wireless network came up, it's a sunk cost. It's just something that we've invested in that, in my opinion, is not necessary. How that will be dealt with and what's going to happen to, let's say, the subway network in London when robo-taxis take over, I don't know. I guess it can be mothballed, it can be closed, maybe it can be refurbished for something else. We could have techno parties in subway stations, things like that. But again, that's for another episode. I think what's really important here is to mention the opportunity for social value by changing the traffic equation, and the opportunity for Tesla to offer services. And Tesla is a company that really is fully integrated, not just within the robo-taxi value chain, but also in the traffic as a service value chain. For example, they can offer a comprehensive charging solution, they can offer energy storage solutions, and of course, they have the AI and the software to actually deliver the robots that are necessary for transportation as a service. So, to conclude, we think that Tesla is on the verge of delivering a whole new business model for the company. A business model has never been there before, which is transportation as a service. The opportunity is in particular by offering robo-taxi networks at scale to municipalities that then can reorganize their traffic. So it's sort of like an internet-style network that frees traffic jams, also lowers accident rates, and most importantly also lowers real estate commitments that are now necessary for parking and things along those lines. This offers massive opportunities to create wealth. And like, here's a small rundown of how we see this. Like, when you free a city of its traffic shackles, like the parking, the way people move around the city, pedestrian zones, all of these things are constrained by the fact that you have to get to a place with a car, and you have to park that car somewhere. That the parking is a big deal, because if you drive a car, you have to put that thing somewhere. And in a transport as a service world, you can offer transportation without that parking constraint. So that's I would say a low-hanging fruit right there. There's other things you could think of that can be replaced, such as, for example, traffic jams or lights, and like in a world of transport as a service, You could have a sort of internet style peer-to-peer network management solution where you don't even need traffic lights anymore, where the individual robots coordinate with each other, maybe through a bidding system, who gets to drive where at what speed, and you can then bid a ride based on your necessity and needs, and there's no more hoping that there's no traffic in the morning when you need to go to a meeting. You can just bid as much as you need to get there at the time that you would like to get there. So there's a lot of these opportunities. There's mid-range airline travel that can be replaced. So you're going beyond the municipality into travel even. So it's not just transportation, but travel, difference being distance. So we see a lot of opportunity. But the key is, of course, the social value that you create and then the value that you capture as a company. And those two things, of course, have to be in sync. Now, when it comes to valuation, and the bull case on Tesla is, of course, that the potential for value generation with robots is massive, whether it's robots on wheels or Optimus robots, because they can do work that humans are doing right now. They can also do work that humans are not able to do or don't want to do right now. So there's an expansion of the market. We're thinking of just simple stuff. You can have a 20-hour shift driving robot, which of course no human can do. So you can utilize this asset, this car, at a much better rate, which drives down the depreciation, which drives down the cost per mile. And we believe that we are maybe in the 20 cents per mile range. So even a 50 cents per mile would still leave Tesla with more than 100% margin. A car can be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, but let's be conservative. Even if a car is worth $100,000, you're going from $50,000 to $100,000. You're doubling the value of the same car, which actually means even more profit per car, because with higher volumes, you will lower the cost. So you're increasing the value, lowering the cost, which of course is driving up margins. Comfortably say that the business model and the margin profile is changing, and therefore the valuation of Tesla can get a huge boost. We're not going to go into the detailed numbers now. I think that's for another episode, but you can kind of use the miles driven model, 3 trillion miles driven in the US at $1.50 per mile, something like that. If you can reduce that to 50 cents per mile, you will have probably at least a doubling of miles driven, and therefore a much bigger market. But that's sort of where I want to leave it here. I think there's more episodes to come where we talk about detailed valuation, where we conceptualize the transport as a service model, the business-to-business part of the model, and really bring it home in terms of evaluation. We here in Large Capital Partners, we've said this publicly, so we're on the record saying that this year we would be sellers in the 750 range, next year in the 950 range. So there are levels at the stock that we would be selling, just simply because of course all this potential has to be also generated. And if you can get if you can anticipate this faster, then sometimes it's maybe worth taking some money off the table. But again, these are obviously, 750 from here will be a doubling of the stock, which we'd be very happy to take advantage of. And 950 would be almost 3x or 2.7x or something in 2 years. That's certainly also acceptable. But again, it's not the place and time now to talk about detailed valuations of the stock. I think the purpose of this particular episode was really to give people a sense for how we see the transition of the business model and the opportunity that this new technology creates. Thank you.